every 3 hours there is a person that negatively encounters a person or vehicle negatively encounters railroad equipment every 3 hours.
Welcome to the Canary Report, the podcast where risk leaders, safety professionals, and operational executives come for real-world stories and smarter strategies to keep people safe. I'm your host, Michael Zell. In each episode, I sit down with exceptional leaders who are transforming how risk and safety are managed. Whether you're a leader of a nationwide EH&S program in a high-risk industry, or you champion workplace safety across 200 retail locations, this podcast is for you. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Canary Report, the podcast where risk leaders, safety professionals, and operational executives come for real-world stories and smart strategies on how to keep people safe. I'm your host, Michael Zell, founder and CEO of Yellowbird. Today, we have Crystal Blasius, and she is an amazing human being who lives and operates and works in the railroad community. And it is so exciting to have you join us. And we are going to learn a whole lot about what it takes to operate in the railroad environment and a little bit about your story. So welcome, Crystal.
Thank you. Thank you for the invite.
My pleasure. So I would like to first start with the most important question, which is, how did you end up in the railroad world? It's such an interesting place for you to be, and I would love to hear about that.
So we all remember what 2007 happened in the United States in 2007. We had this big crash and stuff like that. Well, at that time, I worked in a small subassembly plant in the great state of South Dakota and was about to get married. And so, things were fine. Things were great. We all thought they were going to stay great, except till they weren't. And one day the company came to us and said, here's your pink slip, or you can move to Minnesota. I'm like, I don't want to move to Southern Canada. So did not move to Southern Canada. And now I have a new husband and trying to make things work there. And we just bought a house and all kinds of things. And one day, things are crunch time's coming up to where we're finally going to have to be fully released. And I am reading the newspaper. Don't know who does that anymore, but I'm reading the newspaper out of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and it says, now hiring. That's a railroad. And I'm like, well, that looks pretty cool. Let's see how that goes. And so I applied and drove up to Huron, South Dakota and did an interview. And on the day that I did the interview, Black Betty was blaring on the radio. So now every time I hear Black Betty, I know it's going to be a good day.
I love that song, by the way. So if you have to have
better, I'm just saying.
Yeah. But you know what? Great song. I mean, if you have to have something that reminds you of a good day, well, there you go. That's not a bad one to have. So how long after that interview did you actually get offered the job and start?
It was 2 months.
Oh, wow.
2 months.
So they took their time, and
they
were probably pretty stressed. Yeah. Well, that is part of the big, large organization, which I'm sure they have a lot of vetting and a lot of process. So congratulations on that way back then. And then, fast forwarding through your journey. So you're no longer in South Dakota. So now where are you?
So now, fast forward a whole lot. I joined Team Amtrak in 2023, July of 2023, as their Director of Safety Investigations.
So 2 years next month?
Mm-hmm.
2 years next month. Okay, so before you were there, and because we jumped all the way ahead, what were you doing kind of giving us the Steven Spielberg version of your journey over the last 15 years? How did you end up?
Vernie?
Well, I don't think you'll be able quite as well, but I'm sure you can actually.
In the galaxy, long ago. No.
There you go. I love it.
So I was hired on as a conductor, on a short line there that spanned all the way across South Dakota, and wanted to stay a conductor. And conductor, for those that don't know, is the person that puts the train together that's on the ground and, does all the air tests, things like that. When the new company came in, which is Canadian Pacific, they forced everyone that was a conductor to become a locomotive engineer, whether you wanted to or not, didn't matter. And so we had to go through all new training things. So then I spent a couple weeks in Pig's Eye, Minnesota, doing the initial training and things like that. And while in training, and it was fantastic training. Every break that we had was filled with train wreck videos. And I'm like, do I even want to do this job after watching these train wreck videos? So the point of it was to instill safety, one, doing the right thing at the right time, and how important doing the right thing at the right time is, because you could take out a whole town of people if you didn't do the right thing. So fast forward a little bit more. The Canadian Pacific decided they wanted to sell off that branch. And so then the Genesee and Wyoming showed up with the best deal. And then that whole line became what's known today from 2014 as the Rapid City Pier and Easter Railroad. So 3 different companies, same territory. A lot of people love watching train wreck videos. I mean, there's a whole YouTube channels and all that other stuff. And I'm like, you've never been in the driver's seat. It's not a driver, but you get the point. The driver's seat of when things are going down.
No.
So that made me question my life's choices. But anyway, so from there, the CP had some a regime change basically, and they decided to sell off that same branch that was in South Dakota, and the Genesee and Wyoming showed up, and they what then became the Rapid City Pier and Eastern. It's still that, it was established in 2014, and it was Genesee's, G&W's 114th railroad or something like that, some crazy high number. Well, how that all went down was that in the transition, in the interim, I had signed up and gotten the offer and all of that other good stuff to just become an engineer that runs this certain section. Great, fantastic. Well, one day I show up after doing a 12-hour shift. I'm tired and all that other stuff, and I open my phone. You can't use phones on trains. Open my phone, check my messages, and there's this message from the assistant general manager that was based on the west side, West River, South Dakota, based out of Rapid City. And he says, are you interested in becoming a manager? Are you still interested in that? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And he says, well, your interview's in 30 minutes. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'm ready.
Congratulations.
Just jump right in.
You're interested? Here we go.
Here we go. And so that's when I became a ringmaster based out of Pierce, South Dakota. Advance forward to about 2017. And they decided they had a couple changes in there in the middle, management changes, and then they decided they wanted more management out where the primary crew bases were, and so then I moved to Rapid City, and that also gave me higher exposure to upper management, which I didn't have before for development. So fast forward a little bit more, and another one of those 12-hour overnight shifts as a train master. And I wake up, check my phone, and there's a message on my phone. You probably imagine what this message says. It's not, do you want to be in management? The message was, we would like you to come work for us. I'm like, okay, call them back. And they said, yeah, we've been following you on LinkedIn and been following your Operation Lifesaver journey, and we really like what we're seeing, and we'd like to offer you a job as a director of safety. And I'm like, okay, but you have to move to New York. And I'm like, Rapid City, South Dakota to Rochester, New York. And I'm going, when do I leave?
Wow, you are an adventurous soul. So you said something in there, because I want to make sure. Still a safety podcast. So they were watching the journey of what program did you do that they got attention?
They were watching my sharing of the rail safety message to the public, basically. That's a national group called Operation Lifesaver. And the whole point of it is to bring awareness to the public about how to operate safely around rail equipment, because mind-blowingly so, every 3 hours there is a person that negatively encounters a person or vehicle negatively encounters railroad equipment every 3 hours.
Wow. Wow. Yes. So very important public service, and one that obviously got attention. And so now you're going to upstate New York, you're going to Rochester. And at this point, so when was this?
February of 2020.
So you were still going from South Dakota, so you're used to cold. But Rochester may be the coldest place on Earth in February of 2020, right? As the pandemic's going on, at least you don't have to go anywhere, I suppose, or maybe you do.
That's not how
what
it worked
happens
out.
there? Okay.
That's not how it worked out at all. So,
all right, do tell.
We all know what happened in 2020, 5 years ago. The truck showed up, picked up my stuff, and left from South Dakota. And this was March. And here we go we all know what happened. Well, I hadn't left South Dakota yet because I was picking up my stuff. And my boss calls me up and he says, "You might as well stay." And I'm like, so now I have to live with my dang kids again, right? I'm like, this is not cool at all.
They get in the way. They get in the way. Yeah.
So I have spent an extra 60 days in South Dakota, during which time we had to figure out, I'm on this new team, we had to figure out how to train new people with the rules and qualifications, and doing all of those things and bring them up to the regulatory standard. They hadn't even been to class yet, and they're just kind of floating out there, and nobody had a plan at that point. So we had to figure stuff out really fast. So from there, even though I was stuck in South Dakota, we came together and we're like, okay, what works in other industries? We had to look outside the industry. Like, well, this is what I did whenever I spent 2 years doing college. You don't have to go on campus anymore, and you hadn't had for a while. And at the speed of the railroad, at this point, they were still doing things by paper. Fine. So the solution was, we're building all of this. We're taking what we have and using Google Drive, and we're using Google Docs, and we're going to figure it out. And so from that blossomed doing, especially recurrent training online with a remote teacher, where you could gather people together or not, as the case may be, and do the presentations, do the testing, and it was all captured at once. So that was my big creation with that company. That was my big creation.
As you were going into a new job in a new company at a new state during a pandemic, and now learning how to virtually train people up on how the safety program works. Meanwhile, you are still trying to figure things out yourself. I thought I had it tough because we were 2 months into revenue as a company. We launched January of 2020, so I recognize this challenge that you're dealing with because 2 months in, same thing. Okay, what are we going to do? And I think we all kind of had that. But being new, we were new, you were new. It probably was a benefit if you think about it.
Absolutely.
Because you weren't stuck into the old ways because you hadn't been there. So it's like, okay, if I had to do it from scratch, which you did, you were able to do that. So fast forwarding to today. So now, 5 years later, I'm still alive in my business. You're still alive in your world and you are responsible for incident investigation as well as what? So what else do you do inside of Amtrak for what areas? And then I want to ask you some questions about your job because it's fascinating.
So that is what I do. I am the official onion peeler. That is what I do. And I can tell you right now, they make me cry some days because They're
the onions always do.
They
The
do,
onions always
right?
do.
So that has been part of, I mean, that is my title. But aside from that, what I see my role is bringing people together, because there have been such silos everywhere, and through the melding of the processes that we had in place, and then bringing in new, of course, I'm new blood here because I've never had any experience whatsoever on passenger rail or how things are done or anything like that. So I was not indoctrinated into the way things are done. And so by bringing in that new stuff and then going out and learning new things myself and bringing it to the table, we now have a process, a big, solid process where it's updating the type of reports we're doing, who's doing those reports, the flow, the expectations, the timelines, the deliverables, all of those things. And I think the biggest advancement so far that I have made in that specific role is bringing in, really adopting the NTSB path, the look, the feel, the just the way that it all comes together. Other than that, being a people helper, I am now doing incident investigation training internally, because we were doing it so many different directions, and it depended on where you were from and what the results were, and all of these different things. And now bringing everybody all into one package, standardizing. Standardizing works, folks, I promise. So that the product that we get out of Seattle is going to be the same product we get out of Hialeah, which is the same product we get out of Albany, New York.
So it's interesting because you say that, and you're doing this nationally now, right? I mean, this
That's
is
my territory.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Just the whole nation, not a big territory, just the nation, but not in the ocean or in the lakes. You do not cover those. So again, it cuts back on the territory. No, but it's funny that you should say that, because one of the challenges that we have at Yellowbird is exactly what you said with regards to standardization of deliverable, that we used to get people saying to us, oh, bring out a safety professional who understands how to do incident investigation and they'll give us a good report. And it's like, well, they'll give you a quality report based on their lens of what they believe is a quality report because they're professional. But what do you consider to be quality? Do you want more verbiage? Do you want more pictures? Do you want drawings? Do you want maps? Like, there are things, and you're doing, do you want all scientific equations, or are you looking for human intervention and human actions that occurred? And so we've spent a ton of our time, kind of like you have been, trying to get a standard, just so that when we give, one of our safety investigators or one of our surveyors or one of our trainers, that we know at least they're going to give us back what the customer expects. It's so difficult. Have you had a hard time? I've had a hard time. I'll just say this right now, but have you had a hard time getting folks nationwide to agree with a standard?
So once they have been through the training, it becomes, and pardon the pun, all puns intended, crystal clear why I do it this way.
Yep. Crystal clear. I love it. Excellent.
Because it's not just, okay, here's the investigation process, and these are all the steps that you take. I build the foundation first with SMS, with human factors, with speaking a common language, because there's not a whole lot of common language.
For the listener, the acronym SMS.
SMS, Safety Management System.
Okay, good. Thank you. And I know that, and anybody probably who's listening to this knows that, but I always try, whenever I hear an acronym, I'm like, oh, say what it is. So, okay. And then human factors. And then in each state, so you're an incident investigator. So I imagine that if there is you said every 3 minutes, there's some kind of an event of 3 hours, excuse me. Every 3 hours, thank God it's not 3 minutes. Still a lot though. So you're dealing with a fair amount of, investigations and reporting and all this stuff. Who do you, as a railroad operator, have to report to from a government perspective, and then internally, Who looks at these things? I'm unfamiliar.
Every railroad in the United States is subject to the regulations, the regulatory items from the Federal Railroad Administration. They're the ones that set the minimum standard, and that they are the watchdog, basically. The other group that you will hear railroads talk about is the National Transportation Safety Board, which is the NTSB. They're the ones that actually are watchdogs over maritime, railroad, pipeline, trucking, and there's another one that they cover. There's like 5 different ones, and there's only 400 of them around the country that go out to these big events.
Wow. Maybe that's who Yellowbird needs to be working with, since I've got 10x that
Yeah.
on our platform. But sorry,
Yeah.
keep going.
The NTSB is fabulous. I actually spent a workshop with them learning about family assistance and things like that, which is one of the things that Amtrak is regulatory requirement to provide for our major incidents when they do occur. And it has to do with specifically passenger rail, not the other group, the big freight guys. And what I learned from that family assistance group was the way that they do their tabletops is fantastic. Very valuable. If you get a chance to go to one of their tabletop exercises for family assistance, I highly encourage you to go. Again, airlines, maritime, all that.
So tabletop exercise, a brief on that.
So basically, you come in and you learn the various things that you need to, in a classroom setting, and then you split off into groups, and you have an incident to go through, and how you're going to handle it, and things like that. And so, that was part of what I learned there. The other thing that I learned, being an investigator, and you're very pragmatic about things that you do. This step, this, and I'm gathering this and all these things, right? What is forgotten a lot of, I would say a lot of the time, when you're so busy in the process, you forget about the impact of those that are helping you, the impact on them of the incident, because it could be pretty darn serious, especially grade crossing incidents. So yeah, that's what I learned from that one seminar.
That's amazing. So did they prepare you or give you tools, or how do you, I mean, this is actually a really important piece. I think we have our theme of this meeting or this podcast, because the human aspects of what we do, people always talk about regulations, they talk about laws, and they talk about all these other things. The reality is that it's all designed to make sure people stay safe. But then you also have circumstances that, unfortunately, they have not stayed safe. They have not continued to be healthy or safe. And so you're responding to this stuff, and you're seeing things like officers and firefighters and other people who is life changing. And so do you have a program internally for that component of it, the psychological impact and safety of the piece of the job that you do?
So that is one of the really cool things about working here, is that they do. In other companies, same, that I am not aware of any that they offer. But there's especially for our conductors and engineers that are the most affected whenever certain incidents occur. Some people don't come back.
Of course, I could understand that. And you are, even though we all know about physics and inertia and the weight of a train and how long it would take a train to stop, and there's nothing that most of them could have done. That still doesn't, there's still, people carry that stuff a long time. And that happens a lot in other safety environments as well. So taking it to a lighter environment and a lighter discussion. So from your journey across the country, you got through COVID, you figured it all out, you got into incident investigation, you're in Rochester. Tell me a little bit about the team and the people and some of the fun things that you guys do as a group, and just about the railroad team community out there. Are you guys are you close as a organization? Do you do fun things together? Do you enjoy, the people around? I hope you say yes, because it's a loaded question.
It is a very small group of people, a lot smaller group of people than it used to be, especially because of the downsizing of, there used to be 5 people on a train just to operate it, on the freight trains. Now there's 2. Do we do things together? Well, I mean, the railroad industry is quite unique, and there are a whole lot of fans of the railroad industry.
There
Clearly,
are.
I'm still a fan.
I know. I love it. I love it.
What do you do for a living? I play with trains. Well, what do you do in your free time? I play with trains. Do you do anything else?
And
Maybe.
And you told me that before you got into this career, you actually weren't a train fan. You were afraid of trains. And now you are like, you have a train table behind you, and you've got train art. I mean, you went all in. I love that.
The saying is, when you love your job, you never have to work a day in your life. Well, for me, I love the industry. It's phenomenal. It is so interesting, the story. I mean, pretty dark beginning. But where I want to take the industry is into the next phase. What does the next phase look like? The next phase looks like a more human appreciated industry. One that adopts things a whole lot faster than 50 years.
I understand.
It does lag. It is a lagging industry, whereas you have nuclear and maritime and things like that. They are a little bit more advanced, especially, the airlines. And making it more female friendly.
Yes. Well, I understand. I mean, honestly, it is one of those industries. I work in a very Yellowbird serves the most challenging environments because we are very much focused on, remote or dispersed or heavy industry, heavy machinery, things like that. And you do find that those are also very male-dominated industries. And the women that I meet, the leaders, particularly like yourself that I meet, are amazing and are adding so much to this old boys club. And I am so proud of you and impressed with you that you are actually making it a mission to, be inclusive and bring more females in. I'm glad you're on the podcast because we have a lot of females that listen to our podcast. And it's lonely in safety because not just railroad safety, but in general, it's also a very male-dominated industry. And yet training and assessments and walkthroughs and all these things that deal with humans, human-to-human relationship is not a gender relationship. It is just, do you connect with people? And that's actually what I spend the most amount of time doing. So from your perspective, in the world of evaluating improvements in process, improvements in safety, improvements in what your mission in life is, how do you judge status? Like, it's a difficult thing to do in most industries. I imagine it's even more difficult to do in the world that you live in because you're not in control of finite, one building, one machine, one person over time. You've got a lot of stuff. So is there like a guide? You got your SMS system, I know that, but within your safety management system, what do you look at to judge progress?
That's a great question because the one that we have here, we are still in infancy of development. So the way that I personally judge progress is the ability of people to communicate across cross-functional communication, where they are open to tearing down their own silos, to welcome, always being inspection ready. I know that sounds that's very militaristic. I understand that. But when I'm always inspection ready, that means I have taken all of these other steps to make sure when somebody from another area or another department or whatever can come in and not see or experience the shortcomings or have blaring questions that could have been fixed already. It's having people that are open to suggestion. It's having people that are open to alternate ideas, and then taking those, owning them, and running with them. And that's also part of the my attempt to turn the ship even here with the incident investigations, because it's totally not like what they've always done, and I can't stand that phrase. It's outside the box, and it's asking them to look outside this very, the steam box, the coal loader. It's asking them to look outside of that, and it's working. But now, my challenge now is to now reach up to the top and meet everybody in the middle, because who I'm presenting to now are frontline managers that are going to have to be dealing directly with the investigations.
Right. And that's actually such an interesting what to say, what not to say, how to handle yourself. And also, they talk about it in medical world, the first 48 hours or the golden hour in the first hour of when something comes up is meaningful, and your memory tends to mess you up a little bit over time, as you know more than anybody as an investigator. Are you also involved in the team for response? So my background before I started Yellowbird was in satellite communications, and I used to actually supply FEMA and supplied some other emergency management, emergency response teams. And so when we started the company, I've registered every professional that had a background in emergency response, because I thought at some point there would be an opportunity for a train derailment, for a fire, for a hurricane, a tornado, or whatever, that they need safety resources to keep the people safe in the cleanup process. In the response process, it's a messy world, and especially if you're doing chemicals or other things. You're hauling something on these trains. It's not just the train; it's whatever was on it and in it. So, are you involved in that component of it as well, or is it a different area of the business?
That's the emergency management group.
Okay.
My only role with that is when there is a significant, and we're talking significant event, catastrophic event, I'm out there still doing my job as the main investigator, the lead investigator for representing us. So the team that does the emergency management side of it, that they have an incident response team, which is exactly what you talked about. That role to go out, take care of the families, take care of the personal items, take care of reuniting all of those pieces back together.
What a tough job. God, I love those people for their willingness to do that job, because that is a rough job to have.
And that's exactly what I was referencing with the family assistance. It's like the people that are helping put things back together are more affected than you think they are. They're not just cleaners.
It's so true. Well, thank you so much, Crystal. This was a fantastic discussion. I really enjoyed it. What people don't know, and I'm going to tell them right now, is that when we got on this call, you were prepared, but I was not, because I thought it was a preparation call. We usually do a call prior to the recording. And then all of a sudden it's like, this is a recording call. So you rallied and hung with me better than anybody. It tells me that you are somebody who can roll with your job, which is important for what you do. If anybody wants to find out more about you personally, your career, follow you, do you have any social medias, or do you have any place like a LinkedIn, or if you want to share your email, you're welcome to, that somebody can reach out, and especially the female safety leaders in this world that may want to join you in this masculine dominated safety world. I would love to give them the opportunity to reach out and learn from you.
Anyone can find me on LinkedIn, and I'm active on LinkedIn.
We know that, and I love it. And spell your name for everybody, and so they can find you.
Crystal Blasius, Blasius.
And it's not with a Z. She got me earlier.
Did you see the Z in there? Yes.
I didn't see the Z, but I heard you say it. So, well, thank you again, Crystal. And thank you for all you do. So have a great day. That's it for today's episode of the Canary Report. If this conversation helped you reframe how you think about risk and safety, please do me a favor. Hit subscribe, leave a review, and share it with somebody who needs to hear it. We're building a new category of safety and risk leadership, one that's faster and smarter. Leaders who aren't just empowered by tech, but whose wisdom is accelerated by it. To learn more about how Yellowbird's cutting-edge platform is empowering leaders to solve workplace safety and risk challenges faster, smarter, and at scale, visit goyellowbird.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Yellowbird pages to stay up to date. Until next time, lead with clarity, know first, and act fast.